Hello there, welcome to Straight Talk Sacred Pathway. My name's Stuart Welbourn, I'm a British working class author and former therapist, and I'm joined by my regular guest, Wa-Na-Nee-Che from Turtle Island, more commonly known as America. Good day, Wa-Na-Nee-Che, how are you today?
Oh, not too bad. Enjoying the cool weather.
You've got cool weather, we've got hot weather at the moment.
Yeah, it went from 85 yesterday to 65 today.
As I said, you see, America, you do things differently to us. Over in the UK, most of us now use Celsius.
Uh-huh.
So when you say 70 something, I'm like, what? That I have no idea what that means. But I suppose if I said to you it's 24 over here, would you know what that was?
Oh, it's
24, what is it?
10 degrees.
2 times 3 plus 7, isn't it?
I have no idea how you work it out.
yeah, I think
So
it's
it'd be
about
like
10 degrees.
70, 75, 76 degrees over there.
You could be right.
Hold on, let me look at
I think that was a calculation they did. Take times 3 and then add a certain number to it.
I know there is a formula, I just never bothered to learn it.
Yeah.
When am I likely to use that? Until today, I would have never needed to use it. For listeners, if you're wondering who the other voice is, that is Wa-Na-Nee-Che's son in the background.
Okay.
Okay, we have got a question from Paul. So we'll get started with that, and it's several questions in one. I shall put on my reading specs.
Okay, we'll take them one by one.
Right. He was referring to something we were talking about, I think, in episode 6 or 5, where you were talking about finding yourself and who you are. And he says, to be honest, he's 61 and still don't really know who he is and would love to know who he is, how he works that out. That then goes on to say, how does he connect with the source to talk, and how does he connect with the universal life energies in your way? He's done Reiki and believes in the universal life energies and calls on them, but is that the same thing?
Okay, let's go with the first one on connection. A lot of times when you're getting ready for a connection, you'll have a vision. And like I said before, the vision is when your life force energy will leave your body and they will travel. Now, what you see in that vision will give you a kind of a clue of what pathway you're supposed to be walking. And when you don't understand something that comes, say, in a vision, don't try to interpret with your mind. What I usually do, or when I was getting visions, I would wait. I wouldn't try to interpret it. I would just basically leave it alone. And then I would go outside and I would offer tobacco and say, I don't quite understand what you were showing me. Can you give me an explanation of what this means and what this means and what this means? And then I'd go back into the house, and then maybe 1 or 4 days later, I'd have another vision, and they'd start explaining that a guide will come to me, and that energy guide, will guide me to the next level. And when I get to that next level, you go to the next level. But you have to keep kind of like a kindergarten at first. And the fact is that number one, you're getting visions, but you may not have the understanding of it yet. But that tells you you're on the right track. So then you go out, like I said, offer the tobacco, and you can actually offer tobacco if you have a nightstand. Just put it on a nightstand and ask for clarification. And within 4 to 10 days, you should get an answer. And then once you get that answer, you need to basically do another ceremony, which basically will tie you to the energies. Because there's a lot of energies out there that basically can come to you, but you've got to find the one that is connected to you. So what you do is like we were explaining about the ceremony where you put tobacco, no matter what direction you start, you sit and you ask that particular direction, say you start off with the north, and all you have to again, simply say, hear me. You don't have to make it very long, just say, hear me. Then you go to the east and you say, again, tobacco, hear me, place it on the ground. Go to the fourth or third direction, which is south, hear me, put tobacco there. Then you go to the west, and again with tobacco, hear me, put it on the ground. Then you sit in the center and you put tobacco in your hand. What you do is you put the tobacco in your right hand, because the left hand basically is the closest to your heart. So that's generally reserved for the creator. So you start off with the right hand and you just sit right in the middle of your tobacco offerings and you ask for a energy guide. The guide that will teach you the first level. Now, like I said before to people, don't connect yourself to that first energy as your energy guide. He's only there temporarily, and he's only there to lead you to your next step, to your next ascension. But a lot of people basically, when they get that particular energy guide, they try to make it their own. But it doesn't belong to them. They have to understand, you have to listen to where it's leading you so that you can advance to the next level. It's like when in the CD, it tells you go to a pond and you see your reflection in the pond. Then you take a pebble and you throw it and you watch it as it enters the water. It produces a ring, and a ring, and the ring comes to you on the shore and it dissipates. It's just like your visions. You've got to go from ring to ring to ring until you get to the center. And that's why when they ask me, does a circle have a beginning? Yes, a circle has a beginning in the center where all energy flows out of. So you have to start off as a kindergarten and wait for that to come. Now, if people have a vision and they utilize this particular ceremony to try to figure out what this vision means, if something doesn't come to them or they don't understand, they can ask me the question. I interpret visions. Well, you just went dead. You just went dead. Matthew? Yeah, the sound went off on you.
No, it's me. Sorry.
There it is. Okay, got it.
It was me. I muted myself when my cat came in, so sorry, listeners.
Okay.
The cat came in and
Was he?
he's called Lord Vader.
Oh.
And he's deaf and cross-eyed, but he meows so loud that if he comes in, I do have to mute him. But yes, so my question was, bit of a tangent there now. You were saying about having a vision and your ceremony where you went round with the tobacco and said, hear me. Which comes first, the vision or the ceremony?
Well, first of all, see if you're getting any visions. And then remember when the aspect, basically when you were put on a hill for 4 days and 4 nights, you were calling for a vision.
This is traditional way, is it? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go to the hill in order to get a vision, because the vision will come to you without having you to suffer. It will come naturally. A lot of times people force the vision by going on the hill. And then a lot of things you understand is it a vision or are you hallucinating? Because after 4 days, I said after 4 days of fasting and everything, your mind not be there.
Yes, I've done hallucinogenics, so I know what you're on about. So you didn't really answer my question there, but I was saying, if for Paul then, he's trying to work out who he is. If he's not having a vision, is there a way to trigger a vision Or should he do that ceremony first with the tobacco and then see if a vision comes up?
Well, that the four direction that I explained to will help you. If you're not getting visions, then you ask for one.
Right, so you would go to the four directions, then hold the tobacco in your hand, as you said, and then would you ask your question, who am I, or something like that? Is that what Paul should do?
Yeah, because that what you do with the fifth tobacco and it's sitting in the center is you're actually making a telephone call, and you just wait for someone to pick it up. And that's when it picks up, that'll be your source or your direction that you need to ask the questions. And that's the energy guide that'll come to you from that direction.
And that should come to you within a vision.
Yeah.
Right. So there we go, listeners and viewers. If you want to get your vision started and if you need it interpreting, remember to ask Wa-Na-Nee-Che. There are ways to do that.
See, everybody can connect because they're all part of the human race. It just depends on whether or not you're going to open yourself and you really want to connect. And once you have that intention, and your intention is for something good, like a lot of people will sit there and ask for something, sometimes they'll ask for something evil, and they'll work with the spirits. And the spirits will actually work with them to attack a person that they want attacked. But I always tell people, I said, you have to know that when you're being attacked, somebody fears you.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to try to control you and stop you from what you're supposed to be doing. Because a lot of people will turn away from their visions and everything because they get scared. So the first thing they have to understand, that vision comes to you, and when people sometimes attack you, that means you're on the right track. They're afraid of you. They don't want you to cross over to that energy side. They don't want you to find your candle. So they'll do everything to interrupt you and try to get you to give it up because it's good versus evil. And they fear the good. So the evil will attack you and try everything to try to knock you off your pathway. But you have to stay steadfast. Nothing can harm you as long as you have that belief system in yourself.
Interesting. Do you know much about Reiki?
I've done it, but without realizing.
Yeah, I just wonder because his other part of his question, he says he's done Reiki and believes in the universal life energies, and he calls on them when he's doing Reiki. Is that the same as what you're saying then when you're calling in the quarters?
Reiki itself is an energy.
I had friends who used to do it, but they just kept doing this weird thing with a hand, and then that's all I know about it.
Where the Reiki people, like the original ones, know how to do it, but yet they still don't quite understand how it works. It's like when I did a healing ceremony on a Reiki master, and the Reiki master said, "Are you a Reiki master?" I said, "No." "Well, you did everything a Reiki master would do." And I said, "No, I just followed my guidelines. I followed the energies that were there telling me what to do." So in Reiki itself, one of the things that people have to understand, first of all, do you have a gift? Is that your gift? Because otherwise you're just wasting your time. Like what I always do, I always tell them, when you're doing Reiki, take sage in your and rub it in your hands. Now, rather than using the Reiki itself to go and see what needs to be done, you bring the energy in. You bring your hands, bring it in. You bring it into you, and then you transfer it to the person you're healing. Okay, what happens when that person, when you take that dark energy out of them, where does that dark energy go?
I would assume into the person doing the healing.
Yeah, it goes back into you. And then it goes up. But what happens if a lot of that stuff that you're pulling out of that person sticks with you? So see, a lot of Reiki people don't understand that you're not supposed to bring the Reiki into the healing into yourself. That's why you put sage on your hand, and then you call the energy that will help that person heal. You bring it directly into that person, so it doesn't touch you. So when you come in, watch what the energies do. This is where you learn. The energy will show you exactly how to basically go into this person and show you the healing that is needed. But in reality, you're not doing the healing. The energy is doing the healing. So there's two things that happen. The healing can basically be done where Mother Earth pulls it out of you and it goes into the earth and gets purified. Or it takes it and it lifts it up and it goes back with the energy, and then the energy will deal with it. You don't deal with it, the energies deal with it. So when you put the sage on your hand, that protects you from getting any of the stuff, that dark stuff, out of the Reiki ceremony. I was doing at Broadmoor over in England. I was doing a talk, and I was doing a lodge, and they were all Reiki, supposedly Reiki masters. And you know me, I have to put a little humor into it. So I was there talking to the group, and I said, "Who's the head Reiki person here?" And the guy raised his hand. I said, "Good, rake up those leaves." And he kind of looked at me and I said, "Why is it?" I said, "that I see dark energy in you." And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "When you go and you work with people and you pull the negative energy out, the energy goes into you. And I can see that dark energy. He said, all you people here who have done Reikis." They said, "Oh no, it doesn't stay in us." We went into the lodge, and during the healing round, a dark energy was pulled out, and the Earth Mother took it. So when they all came out of the lodge, they said, "There was a dark energy in us, wasn't there?" They actually seen it walk out of them. So again, you have to cleanse yourself when you do Reiki, but if you do it the other way, you don't have to, because you don't even touch the person. You don't bring that particular illness into yourself.
But in answer to the question that I posed to you,
Okay.
that was all really cool because I learned something about Reiki there. But when Paul's calling the universal life energies, which you were just talking about, the energies are just the energies, it is the same thing then, isn't it? In other words, it doesn't matter what you call them. If it's healing, you're drawing on the same energy, whether you're doing it under some form of yoga or whether you're doing it as Reiki or whatever. It's all the energies are the same energies, aren't they?
Yeah, but everything that has been created in a whole, like I said, you have 144,000 different energy points.
144,000?
144,000, yeah. So when you look at it, people will understand in certain ways, like if you have a certain energy connection, you're going to use that energy to basically develop yourself to find the source of the power. But what happens sometimes is the fact that, number one, people don't understand that their calling is in the dreams and in the visions that they have. Nobody can teach you how to connect to your energy because they don't know what your energy is. This is why it's important for doing the ceremony and trying to find your direction. What are you good at? What is your gift? Rather than going over and look at the guy next to you, "Oh, I want your gift." No, your gift is just as powerful as the people sitting beside you. So when you connect, then this is where you're supposed to be in life. This is your pathway in life. The whole idea is that, number one, you can actually hold hands with the people next to you. And as you walk, you can share information. So when you go into your pathway, if something happens that you can't understand, that means it's meant for another person that's next to you. So you share that information with them. And then they take that thing on. You only take on what your energy will allow you to take on. And as we said, sometimes when you do that, all of a sudden you get a spiritual ego. You think you can do everything.
Yes, that's, I think they're called siddhis in yoga. When people get to a certain level, they get like kind of special, what they call powers as such,
Yeah.
where they can do things like levitate or those kind of things. And then that's when the ego comes in. And uh, genuine gurus tend to not be impressed by the siddhis.
Well,
Which, before you answer that, I've got to ask this because I was going to ask it a few weeks ago when you mentioned the 144,000 connections. Are these energy connections like what are they called? Like with the chakras, and in yoga, that's it. The nadis. There's 72,000 nadis, which are connections
uh-huh.
coming from your energy body, and 72,000 is half of 144,000. So are we
Mhm.
talking about the same energies, and why have you got twice as many as the yoga?
That's because people limit themselves. And when the first person started Kundalini, he understood only his pathway. So it could only explain his pathway as well as others that were connected to it. But in Kundalini, they always say what? 7 steps, 7 chakras they talk about. Well, what happened to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15?
Apparently, there's 112 or 114. I listened to a guy called Sadhguru. I don't know if you know of him.
Yeah, I
He's
heard of them.
yeah. I was listening to one of his things. I think it was his inner engineering. But anyway,
Yeah.
he said that there's either 112 or 114 chakras, but people only really know of the main seven.
But that's mostly into your body. Within yourself, there's that many different
Yeah,
type of senses in Kundalini. Each one of them is there to teach you to reach the next level, then the next level until you reach 15. Okay. In a vision, I was asked if I would take a level 15 in Kundalini. And I said, no, I don't want the responsibility. I have my own pathway that I have to walk. And I said, I don't want the responsibility of being put on that 15th level. And then when you look at the chakras too, the 7 chakras, where is the last chakra? It's right above the head.
yeah,
So when we talk about energy, the life force energy, the life force energy in every person should reach the 7th level because it's the life force energy or kundalini, whatever you want to call it, that controls the brain and the mind and will tell the brain where to go to heal your body. So it's that simple, but trying to reach that point where your energy will tell you where you're ill and then send the healing through your mind because your mind again is very powerful
yeah.
and but it doesn't want to be controlled by the life force energy. So you have to work it until it finally comes in. And that's why I've always confused when I used to go to the mind, body, spirit. And I say, why is the spirit at the end? Why isn't it above the head? And then one night they gave me a vision. They said, well, first of all, the life force energy is in the spine, which is mind, body, spirit, which is basically in your spinal area. Your job is to take that life force energy and move it up above the brain. And there are certain type of things people can do in order to raise their life force energy so it is above the mind. Then it would be spirit, mind, body. And then maybe something just came to me. They said they corrected me. They said as long as you sit there and call it a spirit, it's not going to work 100% of the time. Said you got to realize. They said it's an energy. The life you have to. Like if I would sit there and tell you, I want you to do that. And you look at me, yeah, go do that. What the hell do you want me to do? So again, it's like you have to, first of all, realize that there's a message coming to you. And that you have to learn how that message basically needs to be risen. And you have to make your life force energy a lot more stronger so we will float up above the head.
I ask you a question and you go off on some really great answers, but you never actually directly answer my question. For starters, the 144,000 connections, are they the same as the 72,000 connections to the Nadis then? But there's more of them.
Yeah.
So why is there more? Because you did start to say that it was somebody had limited themselves. So why have you got twice as many?
Yeah, you have to say Reiki. Reiki can only teach you so far. Kundalini can take you so far. But it's the whole thing that it's the first step. The first step to understand that there are 144,000. So a lot of time it connects you, and maybe you don't have to be connected all the way to the 144,000, but you're still connected to something within the 144,000 energy points. So you're on your pathway, you just haven't reached your candle yet.
Right, we're going to have to wrap up in a second. So Paul's question, he needs to basically go and do his ceremony with the tobacco, and that's for anybody listening as well. If you want to find out who you are and what your purpose is to get your vision going, you need to go to your 4 cardinal directions with your tobacco, put it down, hear me, hold some in your left hand, sit in the center and ask your question, and the vision should come. Is that summarizing what you're saying?
Yeah. It's just like when we have dreams, say, and then we go to a psychologist and you say, I've always having this dream about horses. What does it mean? The psychologist will sit there and interpret why he's having horse in his dream. So they could say, well, you're looking to be free. But it doesn't mean you want to be free. The first thing a psychologist should do is say, where were you at when you had the dream? What color was the horse? What kind of horse was it? Where was it at? Was it in a pasture? Was it out in the wild? Was it doing something? Was it with other horses? So they only interpret the horse. They don't interpret the whole picture. Because just because maybe freedom, maybe it's something else it's trying to tell you by the environment that horse is keeping. And sometimes it could mean you don't want freedom. Sometimes it may just generally mean you feel like an outcast. But that's why it's important to interpret the whole dream.
I agree, because I was a psychoanalyst. Right, we're going to wrap up now. Have you got any final words other than to say, ask questions, send the questions in? Have you got any parting words? You've got a minute left.
Okay, I would suggest that each person that's listening to what I'm saying, go grab 2 or 3 other people and have a discussion with them and get them interested in finding their pathway. And then we should be able to get more and more questions. Like I said, you ask a question, I get an answer.
There we go, folks. So I can't believe how quickly this episode's gone. There was some other questions I wanted to ask you, that I'm going to have to wait till next week. I'm going to ask you about sage next week, and I was wanted to talk about life after death, but we'll save that till next week now. So thank you for your time, Wa-Na-Nee-Che, and thank you for listening in. Thank you for tuning in to the Straight Talk Sacred Pathway podcast. I hope you'll come back for our next episode next week. And if you've got any questions you'd like me to put to Wa-Na-Nee-Che, you can email me at stuart@realityresponsibility.com. Details should be in the description where you're listening to this podcast.